Moscow, September 30, 1941 to April 20, 1942, was the military actions of the Soviet and German forces in the Moscow direction. It is divided into two periods, the defensive, September 30 to December 5, 1941, and the offensive, which consists of two stages, the counteroffensive, December 5, 1941 to January 7, 1942, and the offensive of the Soviet troops, January 7 to April 20, 1942. The strategic offensive operation of the German troops in the autumn and winter of 1941 was named Typhoon. The Battle of Moscow included the Moscow Strategic Defensive Operation of 1941, the Moscow Strategic Offensive Operation of 1941 to 1942, the Rzef-Vyazma Strategic Operation of 1942, and the Toropetsk-Ulm Front Operation of 1942. Troops from the Western, Kalinin, Reserve, Bryansk, left wing of the Northwestern, and right wing of the Southwestern fronts participated in the Battle of Moscow at various times. The battle unfolded in an area whose borders to the north ran along the Volga River from Kalchazin to Rzev, to the west along the Rzev-Vyazma-Bryansk bypass railway line, and to the south along the conditional line Ryazk-Gorbachevo-Dyatkovo. During the defensive phase of the battle, the following operations were carried out: the Oryol-Bryansk, Vyazma, Mozhaysk-Maloyaroslavets, Kalinin, Tula, Klinsk-Solnekhnegorsk, and Narofominsk front operations. On December 5, 1941, the Red Army launched a counteroffensive across the entire front near Moscow, conducting a series of successful frontline offensive operations and pushing the German troops back 150 to 300 kilometers from the capital. The Battle of Moscow is one of the turning points in World War II and the Great Patriotic War. December 5, the day the Soviet counteroffensive began near Moscow, is one of the days of military glory in Russia. The war with the Soviet Union, despite initial victories, developed for the German command somewhat differently than with Poland or the Western European countries. The Blitzkrieg plan anticipated the capture of Moscow within the first 10 to 12 weeks of the war. However, despite the successes of the Wehrmacht in the early days of the offensive, the strengthened resistance of the Red Army and a number of objective reasons hindered its execution. Only the Smolensk battle from July to September 1941 delayed the advance of the invaders towards Moscow by 2 months. German strategists were unable to fully anticipate all the costs associated with the significant expansion of the front, the wear and tear of the material component of the striking forces, and the decline in the offensive spirit of soldiers and officers in the event of unexpected stubborn resistance from the enemy. By the beginning of September 1941, the Moscow direction remained the main one for the German High Command. In a telegram from the OKH dated July 31, 1941, the Army Group Center was ordered to continue to prepare for an attack on Moscow. Field Marshal Fyodor von Bock arrived for a meeting with the command of the Wehrmacht units advancing on Moscow. Nikolskoye, early October 1941. On September 6, 1941, the OKW issued Directive No. 35, according to which the Wehrmacht command planned to carry out two major operations in the near future. The first was aimed at defeating the southwestern front of the Red Army using the forces of Army Groups Center and South, and the second was a decisive offensive of troops towards Moscow, but only after eliminating the threat to the southern flank of Army Group Center. With the release of this directive, direct preparations for the operation to capture the Soviet capital began. The overall plan for the offensive in September was refined and formalized into orders that detailed the tasks for each military grouping. On September 19, the operation was given the code name Typhoon. The strategy was rather simple and classic for German tactics, with powerful strikes from large formations concentrated in the areas of Dukovshchina, 3rd Tank Group, Rozlevel, 4th Tank Group, and Shaska, 2nd Tank Group, to encircle the main forces of the Red Army that were covering the capital and destroy them in the areas of Bryansk and Vyazma, and then rapidly encircle Moscow from the north and south with the aim of capturing it before the offensive on Moscow. A detailed aerial reconnaissance of both the city and the surrounding area was carried out. Reconnaissance flights were conducted by the 1st Squadron of Long-Range Reconnaissance of the Reconnaissance Air Group under the Commander-in-Chief of the Luftwaffe, the so-called Rovell Group.